Hello guys, you're welcome to this tutorial, Divergence of a Vector Field. So in studying vector fields, it's convenient to represent field variations by directed field lines, which are known as flux lines, right? A vector field has a direction and magnitude at every point in space. So drawing a vector would be impossible. Now, if you wanted to draw this exactly, you would have to draw millions of tiny lines, arrows, something like this. That's a point, okay? And this is only for a tiny region. So clearly that's impractical. Instead, we draw field lines, also known as flux lines, right? The flux lines are directed lines or curves that indicate at each point the direction of the vector field instead of drawing uh, millions of tiny arrows. Now, it is convenient because it tells us a lot. From the field lines, you can immediately tell one, the direction. The arrow tells you the direction of the field. Example, right? This means the field points to the right. Okay. And also, it tells us the strength or the magnitude. Now, the spacing between the lines tell us how strong the field is. Okay. Once again, the nature of the flux lines can dictate how strong or weak the field strength is at a certain point compared to other points. All right. So yeah, the spacing between the lines tell us how strong the field is. So for a strong field, lines are packed together. So we could have something like this. Okay, but for a weak field, the lines are far apart. So A is a strong field line and B, the field lines are weak. And another difference is few lines in the same area, right? So A and B, because the field lines are weak, the number of lines are going to be fewer given the same area. We could also have it drawn like this. Let's see, this is a point Q. Now the decreasing arrow length away from the point Q here indicates a field that's the strongest at the region closest to the Q. So the decreasing length is just indicating that it's strongest at the points closer to Q, right? Okay. The density of the flux lines at a certain point indicates stronger field lines. So once again, a strong field line, strong field lines, the lines are packed together. So the density of the flux lines indicates how stronger the field is. Now, what is divergence? Divergence of a vector field E is defined as the net outward flux of E per unit volume as the volume about the point tends to zero. Figure A on the right here shows directed flux lines emanating from a source. Alright. Now assume this is a vector. Example, velocity of a certain fluid. Now the fluid is exploding outward from the origin. Right. The expansion of the fluid with a velocity of f is called the divergence of f. Now the divergence is positive since the flow is expanding as it leaves the source. Right. So it's positive. In contrast, if a vector field represents fluid flowing into a source or sink or compressing as it moves towards the origin, it represents a negative divergence as shown in the second picture in figure B. Now the third image in figure B shows zero or no divergence since there is no net change in the inward and outward flux. So this is analogous to water leaving a shower. So when it's coming out, we can say it is positive divergence. All right. Now when it's converging, going back into the sink, we can refer to that as negative divergence. But in the case where there is no net change in the inward and outward flask, nothing is entering, nothing is exploding, we refer to that as um, a zero or no divergence situation. The divergence of a vector A is written like this, right? Divergence of a vector A. So the divergence of a field vector can be expressed in three coordinate systems. You have the Cartesian, the cylindrical, and the spherical. Now, instead of learning the divergence equation for all three coordinate systems, you can choose to rather master the general equation here and do the right for substitution as to where and when it's needed. Okay, so the A's here, A1, A2, A3. Now the A's are the components of the vector field. Okay, we all know that any vector can be broken into components along the three coordinate directions, right? So A is equal to unit vector, let's say A1, capital A1, that's magnitude plus A2, A2 plus A3, A3. Okay, so this in Cartesian is going to be what? AX, capital AX, AY, AZ, capital AZ. Okay, so these are the components of the vector field. So that is why when they were writing it for just Cartesian, we had the partial differential. Oh, okay, and then sorry, the H1, H2, H3. They are referred to as the metric coefficients. Okay, so in Cartesian, the metric coefficients for H1, 2, and 3 are all 1. Okay, so we are going to have 1 over 1 here. Multiply. Now we have the differential of H2, H3, they are also 1. And then you have A1. Now in Cartesian, A1 is AX. Okay, so you bring it. And then we have U1. Now the U's are also the coordinate systems. Okay, so let's try and do a conversion. Let's try and see if we can derive Cartesian and cylindrical from the general equation. So you can try the spherical. Okay, so the general formula or equation is given by the divergence of, let's say, E is equal to H2 H3 multiplying H2 H3 A1 U1 U2 H1 H2 A2 U3 H1 H2 A3. So for Cartesian, now H1 is equal to H2, which is also equal to H3, which is equal to 1, right? In Cartesian. So we are going to have 1 over 1, which is 1. Now H1 and H2 are both 1, so we're going to have just A1 here. Okay, so I said the U's represents the coordinate systems. So once you are considering Cartesian, we are going to have X here. Okay. And then also, before I forget, the A's are the components of the vector field. Okay, so considering Cartesian, A1 is going to be AX, right? So AX, Y. Once again, H1 and H2 are both 1, so you are going to have A2. Now, A2 in Cartesian is AY. So this is what you're going to get. Just as they have here. Okay, so you can do it for cylindrical and spherical just by substituting their H. So for cylindrical, these are the metric coefficients. H1 is still 1, H2 is R, H3 is also 1. So you're just going to do the substitution and you'd end up getting this here. And you can do the same for the spherical. So let's try this tutorial question. So the question is saying a magnetic flux density B outside a very long current carrying wire is circumferential and is inversely proportional to the distance to the axis of the wire. Okay. So the question is asking us to find the divergence of B. Now we are saying outside a very long current carrying wire. It's a wire. So what should come into your head? Obviously a cylinder, right? It's cylindrical. So right from the get-go, you get to identify that we are going to be considering the cylindrical coordinate systems. All right. So let's try and write the equation for B. So B is inversely proportional to the distance to the x-axis of the wire. Now considering a cylinder, the distance inversely proportional to the distance to the x-axis of the wire. So we can see clearly that it's going to be along the phi direction. Okay, the direction is going to be along the phi direction because it's outside of the wire we are talking about, right? So a street current creates magnetic field lines that's wrapped around it. in circles, right? So the direction is going to be in the a phi direction. This is phi here, which goes in this direction. Okay, wraps around it. And since the question is saying the magnetic flux is circumferential, it's wrapping around it, so it's going to be in the a phi direction. All right. Now it's inversely proportional to the distance to the axis of the wire. Inversely proportional to the distance to the axis of the wires, which is the radius, right? So it's inversely proportional to the radius. So taking away the inversely proportional sign, we are going to introduce our constant k. So this is what you are going to get. B is equal to k on r in the a phi direction. And we all know that the divergence of a vector field in the cylindrical coordinates is cylindrical coordinates given the coordinates here is what? And now b phi is equal to k on r since it's in the phi direction. Okay, now there is no components in the r direction, there is no components in the z direction, so automatically goes to 0, goes to 0. So we are going to have now b phi is what? K on r. Now differentiating this also with respect to phi is going to give you 0. So the divergence of b is 0.